free trade helps the economy, period.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, Jack, if there is, as I think you might agree, some trade-off, though, where purely free trade causes dislocations and disparities of wealth, would you be willing to sacrifice some of the GDP growth that comes from free trade or put in any other mitigating things about free trade so that the disparities and dislocations are minimized?
Absolutely. I'm a classical 18th century liberal Democrat, small d, on trade. I'm a Tom Friedman. The world is flattening. Maybe it's not flat yet, but it's certainly flattening. 1/3 of the world's population, 1/3 of the world's population has been lifted out of poverty in the last 25 years thanks to globalization and trade. Problems abound. I would subsidize the worker for retraining. I think both Barack Obama and John McCain, even though they don't agree on many things, they do agree on that. And I would mitigate any disruptions. I represented Buffalo with, auto workers, steel workers, factory workers, and I would always say the enemy of your job is not Brazil, China, Japan, Germany, or Mexico. The enemy's in Washington, D.C. Change the rules, the regulations, the tax policy to make it more competitive to invest in the United States. That's why I'm for lower tax rates on capital formation.
I would say two things. I think we have a lot of agreement on those. I'm an economist at the University of Chicago. You're never going to find anybody that's more in favor of open markets than guys like me and my friends. I think, and I've been on record as saying, I think the main thing driving a lot of these wage things is neither globalization nor government policy, but the change of technology and the change in the demand for skill. I think that's, in my view, that's the most important thing. So I think we can agree on the first fundamental premise of Obama's trade policy, which, if you go look at his statements, and I will let you in on the exact secret conversation that I had with the Canadians, all I did is say exactly what I always say, and that is, one, Obama gets up and says, trade is not bad for the economy, trade is good. It's built a lot of our industries. It has kept our prices low. It has helped us in many ways. And there are many people in the economy who have not shared in that bounty. And if we are not mindful of the people who have been left out of that, all the political will in favor of opening our markets and opening other markets is going to completely dry up. Without domestic sustainability, you don't have anything. So it behooves us to pay attention to that. And two, and I think this is an important point, it doesn't help the case when you look at the trade agreements as opposed to the concept of free trade, and the trade agreements are as riddled with loopholes as any tax code. So, as I say, you'd never find somebody more in favor of open markets than me. But if I go open up the free trade agreements, they're 1,000 pages long. And the first 20 pages is the good stuff. Yeah, we're going to cut tariffs, we're going to open market. And the next 980 pages is making sure this company gets its thing and they protect these profits and they have all of these kind of special interests. And that's deeply troubling. And it's I think, a little bit of a cop-out to push the false choice that the Bush administration has pushed, and not to his credit, McCain has pushed, which is either you're for all these free trade agreements as written, regardless of the loopholes, or else you're a protectionist and you oppose free trade. Because that's not true.
Well, with all due respect, I admire John McCain for several things, not the least of which is his service to the country, but also on trade. He's the only candidate this year who went to Ohio, tough state on trade, according to Hillary and Barack Obama, and he supported the Canadian-U.S. NAFTA trade agreement, negotiated by Bill Clinton, negotiated by Hillary's husband.
Negotiated by George Bush.
Well, you could say Reagan or John F. Kennedy. This really, the predicate for NAFTA was John F. Kennedy's Alliance for Progress, which comes out of the 60s. Having said that, yes, there is riddled. But don't forget, when you open up a trade agreement, say with Canada, our largest supplier of energy, the finance minister of Canada said, and I don't know if he said this in direct response to what Obama said, and I've got great respect for him. So I'm putting aside any ad hominem attack, except to say that when the finance minister of Canada found out that Brock wants to renegotiate capriciously, in my view, NAFTA, he said, we do not have to be America's prime supplier of energy. We could go to China, we could go to Japan, we can go to other countries. I think we have to be very careful, and I know you would be. I know you would be. So
Finish
is
it up
John
real
McCain.
quick on Austin and on that, and because I'll move on.
It's an important issue, though.
Because I think you will clarify that. Yeah.
If you don't know, it is a right-wing government in Canada. There's very substantial opposition to the government in Canada, who went after the finance minister for saying that. Oil is a world commodity. There's no sense in which our oil would be threatened by putting labor and environmental standards into the core of the agreement.